especially when you come to big global problems like what we're trying to fix. I think collaboration is everything. So we collaborate with 3,500 charities because we couldn't actually get the period products to the woman who's living on the street or fled domestic violence. So it was really important for that collaboration piece to happen. So, and then our volunteers collaborate with that charity and then make relationships with them. But we've even done that on a global scale. We held a global period poverty forum here in Australia with people who'd been working in this space around the world. Never before have they all been brought together to try to work out how could we eradicate period poverty around the world. So, collaboration is our middle name. It is about everything that we do because we can't solve these problems on our own. And I always think that 10 heads thinking about a problem is better than one.
Oh, look, I think if I had one sort of desire would be to see collaboration on a global scale. So I'm talking about politics, unfortunately, now. We kind of let East and West get in the way of one another. I mean, I'll go out on a big limb here, but I don't think the US is going to invade China anytime soon. And I certainly don't think China's going to invade the US or, for that matter, Australia. And so I wonder about how much money gets spent on things like submarines and defence and whatnot. And, whether we not be better investing that $360 billion in the energy revolution that needs to take place, rather than protecting our borders. Let's all work together and save the planet. If you want the ultimate collaboration, that's it.
Collaboration is the backbone of everything that we do, local collaboration that is. So that was a real big challenge through COVID because everything that we do is done in co-creation, in collaboration with the wider community. So that made it really difficult to do through COVID with all the lockdowns and things. But we were delivering those services ourselves out of privately run centres and things like that. And what we realised is that work will never be sustainable. And actually, it was through the pandemic a lot. I was really worried that we would end up in some sort of global financial crisis, and if all our funding dried up, then all of Northwest Cambodia would be without social services. And it's a very precarious system, and that's part of the problem with this sort of privatised parallel system is there's no reliability for local communities, and it's often dependent on funding cycles when funding starts and stops. So for a while there might be some family planning services in a community, and then the funding ends and then they go away. It's a very precarious, unreliable system of social support. And so what we decided to do was it's basically a decolonisation movement to take the programs that we have run and developed over all these years in collaboration with the community through a process of co-creation and hand that over through integrating that work into the public sector to create a public social protection system that is wholly owned, run and controlled by the local community. And then that once we've finished handing that over, we can then exit that community and they have a functioning social protection system that raises the standard of living for the entire community. The total aim of that is to hand over the entire Village Hive initiative to all of the 10 communes in Battambang district and then exit ourselves after that. So we've now done the first commune, and the second commune is underway this year, and it's all done through collaboration with the wider community.
I'm not sitting here on this iPhone without us having benefited from the low-cost models that we have imposed on the West, and to give the maximum amount of value in life and to have the most fulfillment is to share that excess wealth of the West. Is that part of it, do you think, Tara, that shift in mindset that just says, hey, we actually owe this money back and we need to distribute it more evenly and fairly?
Yeah, I think there's a sort of narrative that we kind of grow up with, that we grow up in these wealthy countries and where our country is wealthy of our own making, and these countries in the global south are poor of their own making. But actually, if you look back through history, 200 years ago, poor countries were only 2 or 3 times poorer than rich countries, and then after colonialism, they were 30 times poorer, and now they're 80 times poorer. And so you really have to look at, the way in which we have developed is off the back of siphoning funds out of the global south. And this still happens today through unequal trade and patents and tax havens and all the rest. That, $2 trillion flows from south to north every year, and we give back, 130 billion, but it's unequal. And I think, we have responsibility as citizens of the most privileged, wealthy countries on this nation to create a fairer, more equal, more egalitarian world.
I had noticed that women's sport wasn't really recognized as much back in the early 90s, and the opportunities for girls and women weren't great. And I had been involved in America with the Women's Sports Foundation to try and raise the profile of women's sport as well. So we kind of got together and created Women's Sport Queensland and create more opportunities and awareness about women and girls in sport, because they were performing beautifully but just not getting the recognition. And I think the papers and the media were giving more recognition to dogs and horses than they were to women at the time. And we tried to, work really hard to change that, and found a lot of good men who supported us, whether it was corporate or through the media, and often men with daughters who appreciate, they think, well, this might be my daughter that might have an opportunity if we do the right thing here. So I think that was a really good strategy, and you can always do things better, I think, with others. And it also helps to have that support and people maybe sharing a different way of doing something and coming up with a good outcome for everyone. I think so. And I think I'm pretty good at that. I think, I don't know if it's a female thing but just mediating and monitoring and wanting, I'm a bit of a pleaser as well, I think, so wanting to get a good outcome and making sure everyone has their say, and then bringing people together and coming to a common path. So I think that's very important to work together.
I love that style. I love getting people's opinions. I get it. At the end of the day, the buck will stop with me on most things, if not all of them, honestly. Even though you delegate and all that, at the end of the day, like as I said before, the performance of the team, that's with me. That's on me. But I love getting people's input, getting different views, and then for me to be able to, from that, go, okay, this is where we're going to go. I just think it's fun. By the way, I like working with people and staff and kicking around ideas and what do you think? And I think that's one of the great things about coaching. That's actually how you learn. You just pick up little nuggets from people you least expect. It could be like an intern or something. It could be anyone. And I feel that's an essential part. It's easier when you get older, I think, because it's easier to be a little insecure from time to time, and you feel like, if I'm supposed to be the head coach, like I'm feeling like this guy knows more than I do, or he's smarter than me, or that takes a bit of time to be able to get over, I reckon, and just be able to, I guess, establish that maturity and confidence. And I feel like at the moment I'm certainly at a better place there to be able to collaborate properly.